got Alan Tran, whose film Valley you just saw. So we don't have to worry about spoilers because everyone got to see this. Alan's the writer and director. And Alan, I wanted to tell you right off the bat just how much I love your film. It strikes me as so authentic and so good. And the high compliment I really want to pay you is the rule with 20-minute shorts is almost always like cut it a little. And I would have been happy if Valley was longer. I think what the story you're telling and the way you tell it and the authenticity and the quality of the characters, I hope you're gonna, like, at some point during this Q&A, I hope you're gonna say, yeah, well, it's like the teaser for a feature idea I have, because I would love to see you really just spend a lot of time with these characters and, this, that moment in life, right when you're applying to college. It's so pivotal.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the kind words. That was the goal, I think it's specific to my childhood and that part of town, the San Gabriel Valley, but I think there's like a universality in being at the cusp of adulthood. So that was the goal to capture that in my way.
And what inspired you to get started with this project?
I think, I go back to my hometown of the San Gabriel Valley. I'm specifically from Alhambra, California. I go back there quite often, even though I've moved out, because I have family there. And, it's the thing of returning to your hometown every so often, and every year I kind of feel that it's a little different. New buildings, new developments prop back up, but at the same time, it feels the same. And I'll pass by a street corner or a storefront that's still there since I was 8 years old or whatever. I'll have a memory about it. So I think that's where it stems from. It's just driving back home and realizing, as I've gotten older, certain things that I thought I had forgotten kind of resurface. So I just wanted to capture the sense of a memory forming when you don't even know it, particularly when you're at that age.
And you sat down to write a screenplay, and you just started writing about that?
Yeah. I needed a simple premise that allows two kids to have it be a high school film, but not take place in a high school. So I had these two childhood friends ditch school. So it started off with that, and I tried to write to certain experiences and people that I've known throughout my life and throughout my childhood, and that's how it started. Yeah.
And I know for sure if we had been hit by a pandemic and we got to show Valley in a theater here in Sherman Oaks, not far. By the way, I felt like telling you, yeah, you grew up in San Gabriel. You moved from your valley to I'm a boy I've been living in the San Fernando Valley. I was born in San Fernando Valley 52 years ago. So
wow. Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're in my valley now, but yeah, when I see the word valley, it creates all the same emotions for me too. Like the idea of just bumming around the valley, a couple of guys. Don't understand women, don't understand school, don't understand anything, but got no choice. But what I interrupted myself with that. I'm sure that an audience, someone would raise their hand during the Q&A and ask you, like, are you a Ryan? Are you a Kev?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's, again, I think it's a composite of, I might be a composite of both. In more obvious ways, I'm maybe more of a Ryan. Just, I'm not very, I don't talk the way Kev does, and I'm not as boisterous as he is, but at the same time, they're kind of, the flip side of the same coin in a way where, I think at that age, there's like a certain misunderstanding of masculinity that comes out as as a Kev, you know. So those are feelings I felt. Those toxic feelings, as you know, we might call it today, are things I think you kind of grow out of. And at a certain point, that was me as well. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Well, go ahead and talk about, I'm sure, was it tough or easy to cast those parts? Because I have to say, you cast it perfectly. I mean, if you had told me you knew these two actors and you wrote the roles for them, I would believe it because they are so perfect in those roles.
I very much agree. I wish I'd known him prior, but you know, I went the traditional casting routes. But it was a situation where Bloom Lee plays Ryan, Ray Yamamoto plays Kev. As soon as I saw, I saw they send in a self tape, and typically, in my experience, self tapes don't come across well as an initial pass. But when I saw their tapes, uh, they have they are it. I don't have a second choice for either role. They just exude those characters and inhabit them perfectly. So I called them in for a callback, and you know, and it was written in stone for me, and it was just about making sure I can get them on the dates, you know. So yeah, that I think um, they're able to draw from certain um, life experiences. I don't think they're exactly like those characters, but I think just based on how they carry themselves and then can portray themselves, I agree that they seem to be Ryan and Kev definitively. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously has to be the quality of your writing. I mean, you obviously wrote some really wonderful dialogue for them, and probably, you know, if we had a Q&A and they were up on the stage next to you, they'd probably be telling us something along the lines of like, you know, I read this and I just knew who I was playing, and you know,
Well,
it feels, it definitely feels to the viewer or the audience like these guys were very well fleshed out.
well, thank you for that. But although I have to give them credit because we had a day of rehearsals prior to shooting, and I actually rewrote some of the dialogue based on certain things they improv. You know, so I think it sounded more natural than what I've written. So I really credit them in actually bringing these characters to life, and it's totally their talent in making it sound uh, lived in. You know, because sometimes, you know, I definitely feel the dialogue can sound written, and they helped massage it in the right direction. So I can't necessarily take full credit for that.
Well, it's great filmmaking though, and that's being a smart, gracious director to not be precious about it either. So either way you win. So another question we always get, was this a long script? Was it about 15, 20 pages?
Yeah, I think the script itself was it was like 20. Yeah, it was 20. I think exactly 20. Um, and we shot there were like alternate sides of things that weren't necessarily in the script. You know, that had written you know, to fit into the film if it worked. So the first cut of the film ended up being about 34 minutes. It's just way too long. And that was with everything in it, you know. There were certain shots of like, you know, of the boys just kicking the can or walking down an alley. It's just random shots like in the supermarket. All that's there's a ton more of where that came from. It was just about trying to make it flow as best as it could, while maintaining a structure of some sort.
You did a great job editing, I have to say. I was engaged the whole time. I've watched the film start to finish twice, and both times fully engaged the whole time. You know, a lot of films when they show those moments of, you know, interstitials in a way in between scenes, sometimes you think like people are just kind of holding on to footage that they should have let go of. But whether it's kicking the
Yeah.
can or walking around, I mean, I like you do a lot. You do stuff with right. We hear their voices over something, you know, some B-roll you shot, but I am always engaged, and I just think you pull us into the story, you pull us into the characters, and I think you did a great job editing. Like I said, I don't think I've ever said that a 20-minute short should be longer, but man, I really like what you did.
Well, thank you. I have to. I've shown many cuts to a lot of collaborators. Producers Matthew P. Higgins and Michelle Okawa. They they've seen many iterations, and they've always been there to tell me like this part is a little long, and I'm still holding on to it. But after many iterations, I find like, oh, okay, it is long. When you're watching it back with like a small group of people, it's like you feel tense when certain things just kind of like drag or meander. So I have a lot of eyes to help me, come to those points, and maybe it can be a little shorter at the moment if I'm being honest, but I'm glad it has its life of its own in certain scenes if people are open and receptive to that.
Excellent, great. Well, so how long was the shoot? Because 20 pages that's a
Yeah,
big short to tackle.
yeah. The shoot itself, we shot it over 3 full days with cast, and then we have an additional day for B-roll. So 4 days total, and we shot it very documentary style. Li- Limited crew, limited equipment. Just use natural light, and try to make it look as great as possible. And I have to credit our amazing DP Sunny Wong, who just did things on the fly, and he's shot many commercials, he shot many shorts, many longer form things too, and he just, I think, had the instinct to know, what a location needed, and so he just got things on the fly. So visually, I couldn't have done it without him in that regard. So it was 4 very long and snappy days. A lot of location moves and stuff like that.
Yeah, did you shoot in summer? Because it's all exterior day, right? Did you shoot in summer where you had like nice long days?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the other thing. It was very hot. We shot this at the end of July of last year, so 2019. That's when we were shooting it. So yeah, we took advantage of the light as much as possible and um, braved the heat. Yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know what it's like to live in a Southern California valley, oh, that the basin of a valley heats up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we had some more stories, I'm sure, but I think everybody is very happy with how the shoot went, and yeah, and it's complete now. So,
I'm sure you had a nice water budget. I'm sure there's a lot of bottled water around.
oh, for sure, yeah, yeah, a lot of small fans as well. Sun umbrellas, sunscreen, a lot of budget allotted for those necessities.
Smart, smart. Well, then, how'd it go in post? Because I have to say, music, sound, for something that you shot exterior, I imagine you might have. I mean, the sound is really good, and the dialogue was recorded really well. I don't know if you had to fix some stuff.
Yeah, we had, again, I had a great crew who were very adaptable to these, like, this shoot was unconventional in the sense that it was a lot of like outdoor, you know, on the street type stuff. Our sound guy, production sound person, Eni Njoku, he did things on the fly. We just mic'd up our actors and got as good of recorded dialogue as we could. And our production sound, our re-recording mixer and sound designer, Nicholas Schaefer, who also did the score, cleaned things up. We ADR'd what we needed to, and try to make it sound as polished as possible with what we could get. So just a bunch of professionals who knew what to do with, you know, if it needed fixing, it got fixed. Yeah.
Well, it did really well. It came out really well, and now we're nearing the end. But I wanted to add back in as far as your screenwriting instincts and talent. Of course, I really love the way you bring it back to the mothers at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a great instinct, and you really reveal even more. We spent a whole day with them and now we're like getting even greater insights into both young men, seeing them with their moms.
Yeah, yeah. I think, I think it's true of every culture, but particularly in an Asian American culture, specifically Chinese American household, a lot reflects back on the maternal side of things, and how mothers have such a high sphere of influence on a a budding adult. So it was kind of like skirting that line of how much do I want to tell the audience, you know, of what these kids' upbringings are. So my instinct was to get them back home to show the dichotomy of their life outside of the house and the regimented and very, you know, stilted interactions they might have with their own mothers. And what we try to do was visually show that too. There's a lot of roaming camera outside, but when we get into the interiors, it feels more claustrophobic, especially with Kev's scene with his mom, and a very just still and composed shot of Ryan's space, where sure he has more space to operate within the home, but he still feels like he doesn't really have control of his own life, but at least at that age for him. So yeah, I think it just goes back to showing where these kids come from, and how they can't be themselves, at least at that age, when they're home, and how they act out when they're outside.
Yeah, you did a wonderful job with your DP framing that, because yeah, Ryan is in this fairly large space, and he is chained to that piano, like
Right, right.
it's practically a prison cell. Now we understood why he wanted to ditch for a day.
Yeah, yep. I'm glad that came through in some regard. I was feeling maybe that was too abstract, but no, you hit the nail on the head there.
I
Yeah.
think you nailed it. I think you absolutely nailed it. Well, we're creeping up on the end of our allotted time. So, is there any collaborators you want to mention that my questions didn't get us to?
Yeah, this film is personal to me because it's set in the San Gabriel Valley, and I just want to say that a lot of the crew that worked on this are from the San Gabriel Valley, and I've known a lot of these crew members since even before I was in high school, and I'm glad to have them work on this. So Brian Kwan, who has DP'd for me in the past, but he was a camera and lighting for this particular project. Rebecca Leung helped with production design. I've known her since my sophomore year of high school. Andrea Locke, she did hair and makeup. She also personally cuts my hair all the time. I haven't cut it in a while, so I don't want to show it, but she does a fantastic job. And I want to thank Fog Lake, who is a fantastic indie rock musician from Montreal. He's currently in Montreal at the moment. He let us use the song Almost Fantasy during the whole shopping cart montage. So yeah. I think that's most of who I wanted to mention. If I didn't, I'm sorry, but
Hey, it's I'm sure it's good. And all right, well, I just want to say great work. You gonna did this spark you to do more in the San Gabriel Valley? I want to throw in this compliment to you could become the Paul Thomas Anderson of the San Gabriel Valley, and just keep shooting in the valley you grew up in.
I would love to do that. I mean, that's a huge, lofty goal. PTA is a legend, and I highly have regarded his work since I was a high schooler myself. But yeah, I think there's a lot of stories in the San Gabriel Valley. I think when people hear the Valley, they think of the San Fernando Valley. It rightfully so, but I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, and I want to kind of hey, we're here too, so Yeah, I've got a few stories brewing, but it's just a matter of when to shoot them and where to find the resources. So hopefully another one soon.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, you're a talented young man. Thank you for submitting it to the festival. Really proud to have it be a part of the 2020 festival. And thanks so
Thank you so much
much.
for having me, and I'm very honored to be a part of this year's festival, albeit in a virtual way, but you know,
Yeah, I
honored.
know you've moved to Studio City now. You're like right, which people who don't live in LA wouldn't know, but that is literally the next fake. I mean, in Los Angeles, we have neighborhoods where there's absolutely no dividing line between them. So Studio City and
Yeah,
Sherman Oaks just bleed right into each other.
right, absolutely.
So welcome to this valley, and keep up
Thank
the
you,
great work.
thank you very much. It's great talking to you.
All right, thanks, Alan.